What happens when the team wearing the crown suddenly remembers how heavy it can feel? The New York Liberty marched into Barclays with a spotless 9-0 record, fresh rings still glimmering under the lights, and left wondering whether those rings were already yesterday's news. Because on the opposite bench, stretching after a 5-game absence, stood Caitlin Clark. One whistle later, the league's reigning queens found themselves trapped in a storm of 30-foot detonations, no-look assists, and a crowd that cheered louder for the intruder than the incumbents. By night's end, the scoreboard read like a headline from an alternate universe. But the real story wasn't the margin, it was the silence. Those stunned seconds before microphones appeared, when champions had to decide whether to cling to pride or bow to undeniable brilliance. So if greatness is judged by who forces the throne to acknowledge them, keep watching, because the coronation you just witnessed might be only the beginning. Perfect storm of expectations, 9 wins, 0 losses. A fan base already penciling in a championship parade down 7th Avenue. The Liberty arrived believing momentum was fate, not fortune. Headlines called them unbeatable, talk show hosts debated whether anyone could even slow them down, and ticket prices climbed in step with their ego. Meanwhile, across the league, Indiana limped along without its star sharpshooter. Caitlin Clark nursed a strained quad, and the Fever stumbled to a middling record that made pundits shrug. Yet every empty night Clark spent on the sideline only stoked curiosity. Social feeds flooded with hot takes. Was her rookie flash a fluke? Had defenses solved her? When the team finally announced she'd return against the undefeated champs, on their own floor, secondary market tickets jumped 80% in a single afternoon. Barclays Center sold more away jerseys than home. Something electric was brewing, the kind of tension that whispers, "This is the one you'll brag about attending." From the opening tip, it felt different. Liberty players usually trade smiles during warm-ups. This time, their eyes kept darting to half court, where Clark bounced in place, earbuds out, face stone calm. The champs carried the weight of expectation, the challenger carried the mystery of potential. One side feared losing its aura, the other sensed a chance to rewrite the league's pecking order in 40 minutes. And lurking beneath the surface was pressure no team stat sheet captures, the marketing machine that has made Clark both icon and lightning rod. Some vets privately grumbled that a rookie's shoe deal might eclipse their own lifetime earnings. Others saw opportunity. Bigger audiences mean bigger paychecks for everyone. But controversy, envy, and hype all dissolve the moment the ball goes up. By the time the first quarter buzzer echoed, Clark had already splashed a pair of logo threes, and the Liberty's perfect record wobbled. A restless murmur spread through the crowd. Was invincibility just an illusion? But the real shock was still loading, because those 2 deep bombs were merely Clark's opening handshake. The 32-point clinic. The first quarter felt like a warning flare. Clark floated 2 logo threes that ripped through the net before the Liberty could even find their defensive bearings. By halftime, it was a full-blown evacuation alarm. She poured in 19 points in 16 frenzied minutes, drilling stepbacks from the subway map on the court and threading laser passes that turned ordinary cuts into layups. Liberty defenders rotated, then over-rotated, then hesitated. Clark exploited each hesitation like she'd rehearsed it. Her final line, 32 points, 7 dimes, 8 boards, reads impressive enough. But box scores don't track emotional swing. Every time she pulled up from 30 feet, Barclays inhaled. Every time the net snapped, Liberty's shoulders sagged a little deeper. The Fever shot 17 for 35 from deep, a franchise record. Because Clark's gravity yanked help defenders into orbit, leaving shooters lounging in daylight. Even on misses, her foot race to the rebound triggered fast break chaos the champs hadn't seen all year. The psychology shifted fast. New York's vaunted defense, built on switching and smothering, suddenly looked like 5 players guarding shadows. They tried face guarding. She curled into daylight. They tried trapping. She split the double with a behind-the-back dribble that made the crowd gasp. A step late became a mile behind. Liberty coach Sandy Brondello cycled through schemes like emergency channels. Nothing held. By the fourth quarter, Stewart was shading Clark at half court, and it still wasn't far enough. With 2:11 left, Clark launched from the arena logo over Breanna's outstretched arm. The ball dropped, and the reigning MVP actually smiled, part disbelief, part admiration, part acceptance that tonight belonged to someone else. Clark didn't just win a game, she rewrote its terms. She turned a team still dusting champagne off its banners into reluctant spectators at her personal highlight reel. And as the final horn echoed, microphones swung toward the Liberty's locker room. The first to speak? Sabrina Ionescu, an assassin from distance herself, ready to tell the truth about being outgunned. Sabrina's honest confession. Microphones circled like bees, but Sabrina Ionescu didn't flinch. Fresh off a stat line she'd rather forget, the Liberty sharpshooter leaned in and told the room exactly what happened. We gave her too many easy ones. No excuses, no coded coach speak, just a sniper acknowledging an even deadlier marksman. Coming from the woman who once drilled a record 25 threes in a single round, that admission hit harder than any headline. She praised Clark's range first because shooters respect distance above all. Then she singled out the speed of Clark's release, marveling at how little daylight she needed. A pause, a quick breath, and Sabrina added something that turned blunt honesty into genuine respect. On a personal level, I'm just happy she's back out there healthy. That line mattered. Rivalries sell tickets, but empathy builds legacies. Ionescu knows all about the grind of rehab and the fear that a nagging injury can steal a season. Hearing her voice crack ever so slightly when she mentioned Clark's health showed this was bigger than scoreboard trash talk. It was one elite competitor saluting another for surviving the gauntlet. Still, the humility carried a sting. She admitted Liberty defenders lost her in transition, conceded they failed to communicate, and even chuckled at how every slight opening looked like a green light special for Clark. The message was clear. We weren't flat. She was simply better. Yet buried inside the candor was a challenge. Champions don't stay champions by chasing ghosts. They hunt them. Sabrina's closing words, "We'll see her again," landed like a promise, not a threat. She intends to adjust the sights and fire back. But if Sabrina's truth came packaged in clinical analysis, Breanna Stewart's response arrived wrapped in something even rarer, a smile born of disbelief. The Clark effect, strategic chaos. Clark's range wasn't the only thing stretching the floor. It stretched the Liberty's entire identity. Sabrina had warned that they gave Caitlin too many easy ones. She has great range. But even that felt like an understatement once the numbers landed. Indiana splashed a franchise record 17 threes on 35 tries, 48.6%, while Clark accounted for 7 of them herself, ESPN.com. Every time New York's defense overhelped, another Fever role player lounged in daylight, and the net kept zipping. The gravitational pull rewired the Liberty's usual rhythm. They live off stops that ignite fast breaks. Clark starved them of both. When defenders picked her up at the logo, passing lanes opened like trapdoors, and what began as a single mismatch snowballed into system-wide confusion. Breanna Stewart could only laugh after the logo bomb she contested. Because how do you scheme for a shot that shouldn't exist? SI.com, Coach Sandy Brondello spelled out the damage later. We didn't get to the rim. They were very disruptive, very physical, and we've got to execute better. Once Clark bent the defense, New York's own offensive engine sputtered. The champs shot just 6 for 29 from deep, missed 7 free throws after halftime, and abandoned the paint they dominated in the first half, all symptoms of chasing a pace they no longer controlled. So the blueprint is clear and terrifying for opponents. Give Clark 30 feet of real estate, and she doesn't just score. She detonates your blueprint, inflates her teammates' shooting percentages, and forces even championship coaches to hit the whiteboard and surrender. And the league took notice. Because if one player can redraw the court, what happens to the standings she's about to redraw next? Fault lines and fresh power ranks. The shockwaves didn't stop at the Barclays scoreboard. They rattled the league's entire pecking order. A month ago, national broadcast nosedived 55% while Clark nursed that quad, proof that even TV remotes miss her gravity. Now ratings and ticket apps are spiking again, and executives whisper about a $1 billion revenue horizon the WNBA never dared project before her arrival. That kind of cash tide lifts some boats and threatens to swamp others. A few veterans grumble off camera that a single rookie vacuumed up endorsement deals and airtime they've chased for a decade. Yet Candace Parker, a voice you can't ignore, told critics to quit comparing apples and oranges and embrace the spotlight that shines on all of us. Fight the wave and drown, or surf it to the bank. The culture war chatter flares too. Social feeds loop accusations of hateful fan taunts and racial tension, while league offices issue no space for hate statements on repeat. Clark sidesteps most of it, but every viral clip, whether it's a logo bomb or a sideline eye roll, feeds the machine. And that machine is global now. 5 diehard supporters flew 22 hours from Hong Kong just to watch her torch the Liberty, handing her custom banners and a reminder that her brand spans time zones few WNBA jerseys ever reached. So the hierarchy tilts. Sponsors chase her, broadcasters slot prime windows around her, and even defending champs are forced to recalibrate their identities after one cold-blooded shooting clinic. The only certainty? Every rematch circled on the calendar now carries playoff weight, even if it's only June. Because when one player can shake revenue models, trigger social reckonings, and make champions grin in disbelief, the question isn't whether the league has changed, only how far the aftershocks will travel. Mirror check and circling dates. The scoreboard was brutal, but the ripple effect cut deeper. By dropping their first game, the Liberty surrendered the Eastern Commissioners' Cup tiebreaker. Unless Indiana stumbles before July 1st, the champs won't even reach the cup final they'd once assumed was theirs. Panic? Not quite. Reflection. Inside the locker room, vets whispered about identity. Rookies replayed miscues on tablets, and coaching staff mapped out a crash course in defending 30-foot threats. The calendar offered no mercy. 2 rematches loom on Brooklyn's summer homestand, July 16th at 7:30 p.m. and July 22nd at 8 p.m., both inside Barclays. Those dates are now circled in red Sharpie, not marketing ink. Meanwhile, league optics flipped overnight. During Clark's 5-game absence, national TV ratings slid and secondary market tickets cratered. Her return sent both metrics rocketing back up, a reminder of the CC effect that even LeBron James shouted out on social media. Financial analysts are suddenly tossing around billion-dollar bump projections for a league that, 12 months ago, fought for network scraps. And the MVP chatter? Wide open. A week ago, Stewart led every straw poll. Now pundits debate whether a guard with a month on the injury list can sprint past the pack if she keeps detonating nights like this. The race just gained a storyline, and the Liberty just gained a target on their backs, which makes that July 16th tip-off more than a rematch. It's a referendum on who really owns the crown, and whether the champs can bear its weight when gravity wears number 22. Standing ovation and loose ball futures. By the time arena workers folded the last courtside chair, reality felt lighter for one team and heavier for the other. Indiana walked out laughing, proof that a record can lie about power. But New York left clutching clipboards, already rewriting defensive commandments. Sabrina's blunt confession, Breanna's knowing grin, Clark's swaggering return, each became evidence that the league's center of gravity just slid a few feet beyond the logo. And now every franchise must decide, learn to guard 30-foot artillery, or watch highlight montages frame after frame. Ticket sites refresh, media schedules shuffle, practice gyms buzz with new drills. Because one logo range missile did more than dent a perfect start, it redrew roadmaps, reshuffled power charts, and proved that any crown worn too loosely can slip with a single step back. So remember the scoreboard all you want, 102.88 will live on stat sheets. But remember the silence too, that hush before the microphones, when champions realized they'd just seen tomorrow arrive early. And whether you cheer Clark's rise or crave her fall, you're tuning in, because the next detonations are already circled in red on every calendar that matters. Crown check champions wear rings, contenders chase them, yet every so often a rookie strolls in and makes both sides question whose finger the jewelry really fits. One night in Brooklyn didn't shrink the Liberty's trophy case, but it did crack the marble beneath their pedestal, and the echo is still rolling through league offices, practice gyms, and primetime lineups. Caitlin Clark didn't just torch a scoreboard. She forced the WNBA's royalty to applaud while the crown tilted. Now every rematch date is circled, every ratings graph is climbing, and every defender is running wind sprints an extra 5 feet beyond the three-point line, because they know she'll be waiting out there. So ask yourself, when greatness forces the throne to stand and clap, is the coronation already complete? Or is this only the curtain raiser on a dynasty yet to be written? Hit that subscribe button, keep your eyes on the logo, and never believe the game is safe once she crosses half court, because tonight proved the league's future might start from 30 feet away.